to begin, I'll define biodiversity, species richness, and species evenness as we've discussed them in relation to British Columbia ecosystems. Biodiversity is defined as the diversity of life on Earth across multiple levels of biological organization. It encompasses genetic diversity among species, species diversity within communities, and ecosystem diversity across landscapes. Biodiversity includes all living organisms as well as the ecological and evolutionary processes that keep them alive over time. At various spatial scales, biodiversity is described as alpha, beta, and gamma. Garry Oak Meadow in Victoria exhibits biodiversity on multiple levels: genetic variation within species, a diverse range of plant and insect species, and a distinct ecosystem shaped by climate and history. Species richness measures how many species exist in a community, not how evenly they are distributed. For example, two ecological communities could both have 20 species, resulting in the same species richness, even if one is dominated by a single species while others are uncommon. Species evenness refers to how evenly individuals are distributed across species in a community. Evenness is high even when each of 20 species in a community has roughly the same number of individuals. Evenness is low when one species accounts for the majority of the individuals while others are present in very small numbers. Now that we've defined biodiversity and how we measure it, Southern Vancouver Island stands out as a biodiversity hotspot. Victoria and the surrounding regions have rare climate conditions, highly endangered ecosystems such as the Garry Oak, and a high concentration of threatened species such as Victoria's owl clover, bear's foot sanicle, deltoid balsam root, and the Odedon's night-stalking tiger beetle. With all this in mind, we plan to implement 3 action strategies in the hopes of preserving the species mentioned previously. Conservation efforts frequently fail when biodiversity loss appears abstract or disconnected from our daily life. Our first priority would be to make local biodiversity visible and relevant to the people of Southern Vancouver Island. Rather than simply naming threatened species, we would emphasize why Garry Oak ecosystems are important, how habitat fragmentation affects recovery, and how individual actions contribute to decline or resilience. We would launch targeted awareness campaigns that translate ecological concepts into actionable steps that residents could take, such as planting native species, reducing pesticide use, supporting restoration projects, and contributing observations to iNaturalist. We would prioritize collaboration with the Wisani and Lekwungen nations to support Indigenous-led stewardship initiatives. Colonial land management practices, such as fire suppression and invasive species spread, have directly contributed to the decline of the Garry Oak ecosystem. Indigenous ecological knowledge, including seasonal land management practices such as cultural burning, would be incorporated into restoration efforts, as would active removal of invasive species such as Scotch broom. Restoration efforts would concentrate on restoring soil health and re-establishing native plant communities that support threatened species. Indigenous leadership would guide planning and implementation, ensuring long-term ecological resilience. Finally, we would advocate for the permanent legal protection of all remaining Garry Oak ecosystems in Victoria, Saanich, Oak Bay, and Esquimalt. Because habitat loss is the primary cause of species decline, preserving remaining habitat is critical to recovery. This would entail no building zones, strict enforcement of roadside meadow protections, preservation of undeveloped public lands, and incorporating ecosystem protections into official community plans and municipal land use bylaws. Given that British Columbia lacks a Provincial Endangered Species Act, municipal governments must take a more active role in preventing further habitat fragmentation and degradation in this biodiversity hotspot. Biodiversity is more than just the number of species present. It also represents the ecological integrity of entire landscapes. Protecting the species of Southern Vancouver Island entails protecting the ecosystems that support them. Recovery is still possible if we take deliberate and coordinated action.